Hey guys, what's poppin'? Jacques Slade here, and this is the Nike EPIC React Flyknit. Now, you've probably heard about this shoe a few times. I've talked about them online myself. I've been running in them the last week or so, and if I'm gonna be totally honest with you guys, I've really enjoyed what I've experienced so far. Now, you've probably heard of the EPIC React Flyknit by now, and there's two reasons for that. First was the Nike EPIC React in New York City. The event was a ton of fun. Basically, I was there was a bunch of media there. They had our names on the wall. They gave us the shoes, and it was basically just a giant fun house for adults. It was separated into 4 stations. There was a foam pit, a trampoline, a tire race, and a feather booth thing, you know, like when you grab stuff out of the air. I know it sounds crazy, but Nike wanted us to experience the 4 characteristics of the React that they felt were the most important, which is the cushioning or the comfort, the energy return, being lightweight, and the shoe's durability. Now, I am happy to announce that my team did in fact win the challenge, but I'll keep those comments for another video. Now, the second reason was because the technology was actually announced 8 or 9 months ago. It was part of the launch of the React Hyperdunk 2017, so it's not new. Draymond Green actually wore React in his shoe for the NBA playoffs, and the tech was also part of Blake's Superfly sneaker from Jordan brand. The difference being that the React was inside of a carrier for the basketball shoes, whereas the Nike EPIC, it's exposed to the world and it's almost, I would say, like a raw sort of state. And speaking of that, let's clarify a few things. When you hear people say React, that is specifically talking about the cushioning and not a particular shoe. Think of it as Air or Zoom. Nike has taken a bit of a weird approach to naming shoes that feature React, and I don't want people to think an actual shoe is named React when it's the actual technology, if that makes sense. So what is React? Well, it's a Nike proprietary synthetic-based rubber compound, or basically foam, that's created in-house, meaning that you probably will not see it used in any competitor products, and it isn't licensed from another company like Boost, which is licensed from BASF, or Puma's cushioning, which is licensed from Dow Chemical. Traditionally, Nike has used EVA or Cushlon in applications like these, but this is supposed to be totally different. Now, according to Nike, React is 5% lighter, 11% softer, and offers a 10% greater energy return than its predecessors, which is Lunarlon. I've also heard there is a 13% greater energy return as well, but I wanted to be safe, so I'm gonna rock with the 10% because that's what Nike told me directly. As I stated earlier in this video, I've been running in the EPIC React Flyknit for the last week or so, and I've put probably between 20 or 30 miles on this pair, so this is what I like about the shoes and what I don't like. First thing to talk about is the weight of the shoes, and they are definitely lightweight. They come in at about 9 ounces, which is lighter than most sneakers that are out there. And again, I know that weight isn't everything, and just being light isn't really the key goal here. It needs to be light, and it still needs to be comfortable, and it still needs to be responsive and all those things. But considering the other categories with this shoe, the fact that it is lightweight as well definitely gives it a notch in the win column for me. But it is also something that I don't like, if that makes sense, considering Nike is building this shoe as one that you can wear no matter how you run, from pros that run marathons to people that are just starting out on their running journey. I'd like to see more rubber on the outsole. As you can see here, there are areas without it that are already starting to wear down on my pair, and I only have between 20 and 30 miles. Admittedly, I don't have the best running form, but I don't think most people who will wear this shoe will have great running form either, and adding a larger piece of rubber across the outsole would fix that. Now, it's not a deal breaker and it'll add a little bit more weight, but it's definitely something that I thought you guys should know. As the name states, Nike used Flyknit on the upper of the EPIC React, and as expected, it's soft, it fits your foot really well, it's snug, but my one complaint is that the layer is pretty thin. If you've ever worn like a Flyknit Racer or a Vapor Max, it feels more in line with one of those, as opposed to something like the Lunar EPIC, which has a lot more cushioning. Now, I don't think it needs as much cushioning as the Lunar EPIC, but a slightly elevated Flyknit construction would definitely help in the long run, in my opinion. I'm not sure if this was a weight issue like with the rubber on the outsole, but it is something that I noticed. Something else that people have noticed is the design. For the most part, it resembles a traditional running shoe, with the exception of the heel that protrudes pretty obviously from the back of the shoe, and that's partly because of this TPU injected molding that extends around the bottom of the heel. Now, because of that piece, you don't get as much support here in the heel cup, but it does act as a stabilizer for the React foam. See, for most people, it may seem unnecessary, but my thoughts are that Nike knows most people land on their heels when they run, and to help provide you with more impact protection, they included more React foam here in the heel. Now, because of how responsive it is and how it transitions through your impact, they needed to add a stabilizer, which is this, as opposed to focusing that energy here in the heel cup. It hasn't impacted my run in the positive or the negative, which tells me that it's really doing what it's supposed to be doing and I'm not noticing it. For the overall look of the shoe, it reminds me of the Vapor Max, especially when you look at it from the toe down this way. I think it's a beautiful shoe, but if you look at it from the side, it looks more like the Flyknit Racer. Now, I know that Nike has a ton of colorways lined up for the launch starting on February 22nd, but they also have a special colorway dropping on February 5th for Nike Plus members, so make sure you look out for that. But otherwise, I like the way it looks. I've heard a lot of comparisons, but I think that a lot of that comes from the design of the foam. Nike used what's called computational design on the foam that helps to highlight the strengths of React foam. It's an algorithm-based pattern that's customized from each size for both men and women. The thought is that the pattern you see goes from the midsole and it goes all the way to the underfoot, and it's really supposed to bring out the comfort of the foam. And talking about comfort, there are a few areas to look at with the EPIC React Flyknit. First, from the perspective of a runner, the second as a lifestyle shoe, and finally in a long-term sense for both. I would first approach it from a lifestyle perspective because I honestly believe that's how most people will actually wear this shoe and use this shoe. From the instant I put it on and walked around in it, you can feel how soft and comfortable the React cushioning is. A lot of times when you get this sort of cushioning, it's mushy, for lack of a better word, and it kind of spills out over the sides. This cushioning is, I wouldn't say it's not like that at all. It's more firm, but it's soft enough for you to feel your foot sinking into it with each step. However, your foot doesn't get lost in the foam. The foam is responsive enough to give you some bounce back with each step, but it's not springy. When a shoe is springy, it feels awkward to me, and it forces me to focus more on stability as opposed to something that has more bounce to it, which kind of cushions you through the ride and makes for a better transition from your toe to the heel. Add to that the Flyknit upper, and you have a really great package, I would say, for long casual wears. I've worn this shoe for a few days straight, and I've enjoyed it all the way through and haven't really had any issues with it. Now, as a runner, I'm just now starting to get a grasp on my running form, and using the Nike EPIC React, I feel like I've been able to continue in that progression, which is a good thing. My thought when testing out these shoes was to run on them every sort of surface that I could, from dirt to gravel to cement to treadmill, in a gym, anywhere I could find, and the feeling has stayed consistent across all those surfaces, which is a big deal. The foam almost seems to react, no pun intended, a lot faster when running, and then it allows the cushioning to firm up a bit and not feel as soft as when you're walking around in the shoe. I find this to be better for running as it doesn't allow you to waste a lot of your energy kind of sinking into the foam, but instead firms up a bit and stores more energy for you to be responsive for the lift off and for your next step. So the furthest I've run in these so far is 8 miles, and I've done as little as 2 as well in the shoe, and I can't remember feeling any different on either of those runs as far as the cushioning bottoming out or becoming less responsive. Now, according to Nike, these are supposed to go for hundreds, literally they said hundreds of miles before that starts to happen. So I do have quite a few more miles to go before I get to that point and can give you a long-term review. As far as sizing goes, I would say stay true to size unless you have a really wide foot. And if you do have a wide foot, you already know that this isn't a shoe for you. If you can wear the Lunar Epic, you should probably be able to fit into these without an issue. One minor annoyance for me is the lacing system. It's a little weird how the laces are tracked at the top, and you'll have to go through the inside to get them to lace properly. That is mostly because of how the eyelets are actually integrated into the Flyknit upper instead of being a separate part of the shoe like a cage. So that's something you'll have to deal with one time to get it tightened the right way, but after that, it shouldn't be an issue at all. Overall, would I recommend this shoe as a casual shoe and as a running shoe for the average person? 100%. I'm going to assume that a really elite runner is going to have a very specific shoe to run in, and I'm not sure this shoe is specific enough for someone of that caliber. The price point is at $150, which is just a bit on the higher side. I'd probably like to see this come in at about $130, but $150 isn't a bad price for the shoe. I know most of you want to compare this to the Adidas Boost, and my response to that is that they're different. Both are comparable, and at the end of the day, it's really going to come down to your personal preference when it comes to deciding which one you like more than the other. Neither is better in my opinion. They both feel great, but it's a different sort of feeling, if that makes sense. I'm personally more on the Nike React side, but again, that's more based on my personal running style and what I like to feel underfoot. And it also helps that, again, this one is $35 cheaper than the Adidas Boost. But at the same time, if they were priced the same, I would probably still go with React over the Boost. So at the end of the day, I think Nike made a really great product. If I understand correctly, we're gonna start seeing React in a bunch of different places, in a bunch of different shoes. It is, I don't want to say a game-changing technology for Nike, but it is something that's going to take them into the next step of Nike product and this next step of Nike cushioning, and that can only be a good thing because it's better for us as the consumer, and it's going to push everyone to do better in the sneaker space. So that's it, guys. Those are my thoughts on the Nike EPIC React Flyknit. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Again, they're $150. They release on February 22nd officially, but there's an early drop on February 5th. As always, guys, I appreciate you. I'm Jacques Slade. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you like, favorite, throw a subscribe in there somewhere if you really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys soon. Peace.